Did you know that more than 4.5 million Texans now live in communities governed by homeowners associations? And that number is growing every year. That's why it's important to understand the HOA Addendum. Technically, it's the addendum for property subject to mandatory membership in a property owners association, but that's a mouthful, so we'll just call it the HOA Addendum throughout this video. It's mandatory to include with the purchase contract whenever you're dealing with property that requires membership in a homeowners association or a similar governing body, but not condos. They have their own forms. The Texas Real Estate Commission requires this addendum because it allows buyers to make an informed decision about their purchase. We're talking about restrictions that might prohibit their business, architectural controls that limit their property improvements, or fees that could strain their budget, sometimes costing thousands of dollars annually. Here's how to fill out the form. First, at the top, fill in the complete property address, including the city. Next, you need the exact legal name of the HOA and their contact phone number. Don't guess at this. Get it from the MLS remarks, the seller's disclosure, or call the management company directly. You can find many management certificates at www.hoa.texas.gov. And you can also cross-check with tax records to be sure. Then, Section A gives you 4 distinct options. But since the buyers bring the offers, typically option 1 is checked. This works in the buyer's favor because it puts the burden for getting the information from the HOA on the sellers. And it gives the buyers maximum flexibility to terminate if they discover something they don't like. We recommend putting 14 days to allow the seller enough time to obtain the information. Many HOAs can be slow to respond, so it's just unrealistic to put fewer number of days. Section C deals with transfer fees, and for higher-end properties, this may end up being negotiated. You'll need to fill in the maximum amount the buyer is willing to pay for association fees, deposits, and reserves associated with the transfer. In many Texas communities, these range from $200 to $800, but luxury communities can charge more, a lot more. Whatever amount you put here becomes the buyer's maximum obligation. The seller will have to pay anything over this amount. So when representing a buyer, you'll want to put a lower number here. $100 is a good place to start. However, if you're representing a seller, be aware of just how much extra your seller will have to bring to the table. And find out if there's a reserve fee, also called a capital reserve fee, and if so, how much it is. Reserve fees can be hefty. They could even cost several $1,000s. So if you're the listing agent, you don't want your seller to get an unwelcome surprise when they realize they'll be the ones paying those expensive fees, while the buyer only has to pay a few $100s. That's why the dollar amount in Section C often gets negotiated. Section D authorizes the HOA to release information to the buyer and title company. Notice the critical checkbox about who pays for additional information the title company might need. If you're representing a buyer, you'll want to check the box for seller. Then, make sure all parties sign. And that's it, you've completed the form. The HOA addendum is a good form. Buyers have multiple termination rights under this addendum. If they don't receive information on time, if the information reveals concerns, or if material changes occur before closing. Knowing how to fill out this addendum demonstrates your expertise to your clients and leads to stress-free closings, which in turn leads to more referrals and more closed deals.